Department, Faculty of Languages and Art, Universitas Negeri Padang. In this occasion, we shall have outstanding presentations from our prominent presenters, whom I believe shall enrich our insight and knowledge regarding the theme of this conference. And I, Nora Futla, will be the moderator of the session, along with my partner, Mahdi An-Nafra Maulana. And this parallel session will be held for an hour and will be divided into two sessions, the presentation and the question and answer session. So if you have questions and response, you may directly type in the chat box and please mention your name, affiliation, and to whom your questions or response is addressed to. So before we start the presentation, and in order to avoid any disturbance during the presentation later, I would like to ask you to change the mode of your gadget into silent or turn off your gadget. And besides, let me kindly remind you all that every presenter is allowed 5 minutes to present, and the points to be presented are only the title of the paper, the objective of the study, the results and conclusion. So we are humbly asking you to skip other aspects other than I've mentioned before. So actually, we have 4 presenters in this parallel session. The first presenter should be Mr. Rafki Hadi Yusid. The second presenter is Mr. Rodi Hartono. The third presenter is Ms. Tri Apriliani Putri, and the last speaker should be Sonorika Yulia Sari. But for the first chance, we would like to invite Ms. Sonorika Yulia Sari. So Ms. Sonorika Yulia Sari will present her papers entitled Potential Approaches Encompassing English Language as a Medium of Instruction for Non-Native English Speaker and NNES students. So for Ms. Sonorika, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Sudla. And I would like to share my screen. All right. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
All right. All right. You know, are they in a full screen? Are they in the full screen?
Yes,
Sorry?
it is. Yes, it is in
All
the
right.
full screen.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Senorika Yulesari, and together with Miss Nora Futla, who is coincidentally as our moderator in this room, we would like to present our article entitled the approaches encompassing English language as a medium of instruction for non-native English speaking, or we call it as an NES student. And we are from Universitas Negeri Padang. Why do we do research in this field is because there is a really growing number out there using international class policy in higher education level in most countries whose language is not their home language, or in non-English speaking countries, let's say in Europe, in Southeast Asia, for example, in Indonesia, maybe was one of the reason is because English is so requisite for insistent global competitiveness. So graduates are expected not only to have a higher level of GPA, but also to have a fluent, eloquent English, so they might compete globally with other competitors from all over the world. And then since this policy is increasing, the number of researchers and also studies have been also growing out there, and they seek what are some best approaches, and also they appear day by day, time from to time. So we need to think deeper. We need to stop for a while and think deeper. People keep applying these international policies. People keep applying some approaches to teach the material using English as a medium instruction. But where are we going forward? And then this research is huge but fragmented. At the same time, it's fragmented and separated. we need to see from the macro perspective to get the silver lining. And so here we go, as our objective is to see to collect some articles which discuss the same issue, and then we take some most commonly approaches they use by the institution to teach the material through English language. And then what are some issues brought by this policy in the past 3 years, from 2018 until 2020. Um, and by using the systemic literature review, we collect the data and write a qualitative descriptive. So here are some procedures. The first one is we collect a massive metadata from the home journal. In this case, we are using the Scopus database journal, and then we collect like hundreds of articles which discuss the using English language as a medium of instruction. And then we do the selection of the criteria, such as are they coming from a year 2018 until 2020, and then are they discussing the international class policy, are they from the non-native English speaking country and students, and so on. And then we got like 104 articles so far to discuss within 3 years. And then we extract and we synthesize these articles to find out the core of each article. What do they discuss the most? And then for that, we purposefully take only 25 articles from 104. And here what we got as the result. We synthesize all the articles through this table. And what is the approach they use? For example, they use ME, English as a medium instruction, and CLIL, content language integrated learning. Are they for the international class policy? And what are their opportunities of this article? What are some challenges, and so on? So we can see that from 25, even from the 25 articles, the result, the findings absolutely distinct and various. And this is okay. So we see the gap first from many articles. We see the gap from the problems from
Okay, it seems that Miss Norika have some technical issues.
oh
Okay,
my
are you
god, I
there?
was kicked out.
Okay, are you there, Miss Norika? Okay, you
Yes,
may continue.
I'm here
Still have
already.
2 minutes left, Miss Norika. 2 minutes
So
left.
which part is the last part that I discussed? Which part is
I
the
see
last part
the
I
gap.
talk about?
Yeah, the research gap, if I'm not mistaken.
Left. Am I still sharing my screen?
Not yet. Please share the screen again.
Oh, not yet. All right. So, in which slide I did stop?
If I'm not mistaken, I see the word EMI. Result and discussion, Miss. Just go directly to the result and discussion. Yeah, you still have 1.5 minutes,
All
Miss.
right. So here we go. So there are, okay, no worries. There are three essential findings that we got so far. The first one is from 25 articles, there are two common approaches used, which are ME and also CLIL. The second one is there are complex problem of NNES students in understanding the language and also understanding the material which is taught by the English language, and also not only the students but also the teacher. And this is the most important part, as the last reason but not least is that there is no clear silver lining between institution policies and the readiness of the stakeholders. teachers are not prepared, students are not ready. But the higher institution expect the students, expect the teacher to use English as a medium of instruction in the classroom, and even they expect the graduate to speak eloquent English. So I think that will be a mess. As the conclusion is, we can make a new path from this gap, from this problem. We should fix what are the main problems before we implement the policy of international class later on. I think that's all for me. From me, thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let's give a big applause for Miss Senorika Yuliasari. Thank you, Miss Senorika, for helping me to present our papers actually. So actually, there is one question from Mr. Risang Baskara, but let us collect the questions. So let's just the presenters present the papers in a row. So we'll have the question and answer session later on. Okay, so for the next presentation, it will be Mr. Rodi Hartono. Mr. Rodi Hartono, can you hear me? Mr. Rodi Hartono? Mr. Rodi Hartono, can you hear me? Mr. Rodi Hartono? Mr. Rodi Hartono, can you hear me? Mr. Rodi?
Okay, you can hear. Hello.
Okay.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. So, Mr. Rodi,
Okay.
now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our second presenter, Mr. Rodi Hartono. He will deliver a presentation entitled Teaching Speaking Through Storytelling. So, it's quite interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rodi Hartono. The floor is yours, Mr.
Okay, thank you very much for the presenters. Presenters in the ICOELT X in English language and teaching. Okay, I will present my slide. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I have to see. I'm not prepared for my.
Sir, do you need our
Okay.
help to... Can you share the screen, sir?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I see you on my screen. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Mr. Nora? Okay.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can see
Okay.
it.
The first time I have to explain about my articles, the teaching speaking through storytelling. The writers are Wiartono, and you can see from my slide. If we talk about the teaching speaking through storytelling, that speaking is very important for the student in the classroom, then we have to make some access in learning process through storytelling. So we know that speaking is essential for the student, and it is a kind of productive skill that the student have to make their English is good. And then speaking as such as giving the meaning of how the student produce the information and how they deliver their speech to the others in the classroom. This is important. The way how the students speak their English in the classroom with their friends, with their teacher, and then the other audience in the classroom. That is very, very important. Some elements of the English language teaching in speaking, so getting the information from the others, and then how we use the speech tool for the student, how the student learn, how the student hear, then how they respond through the using the grammar, using the vocabulary. This is the problem for the student. Most of them are difficult to get the new vocabulary, and how they are still make some mistakes in pronunciation. Is the problems in speaking. But through the storytelling, the teacher use the medium as a medium, storytelling as a medium, how the teachers give, how the teachers explain the material through the story. The story is related to the student interested, not only storytelling, talking about the legenda, such Maling Kundang or the others, Tengkuban Perahu. Not only that, in teaching, speaking through storytelling, but the others material can be the teacher use the storyline, for example, how the making something as the student can explain, can tell about their experience actually. So the experience from the student is very important. How they tell about their experience at home, with their family, with their friend, with their experience through the using the technology like handphone, like another equipment for the technology. It is important for the teacher to know that student interested in teaching speaking. So the student very freely to use their own language. That's the storytelling. Here, I cannot see that storytelling is only talking about the legenda, about the myth, about the folklore, or anything. But how we use storytelling through the student experience. So in this storytelling, there are three activities that the teacher have to use, introduce the topic, and how to motivate the student to speak. And then in the while storytelling, the teacher read the story, makes question about the story, and then modeling about the story, and the student answer the question from this while activities. And then the first storytelling activities, the teacher and student reviewing the story and summarizing, and can develop the student productive skill in speaking. And then in this research, we use experimental research in the junior high school at SMP2 Kerinci. The audience or the participant to 21, and then the aim of this educational research is to know the effect of treatment using the storytelling toward the speaking skill. The experiment class use storytelling, and then the others control class we use the conventional.
Okay, Mr. Rudy, you still have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, thank you. Can the ability, the coefficient ability is bigger than null, that's reliable, the score. The normality is because is received, and then distribute rejected because V value is bigger than 5%. The F-con is class where the homogeneity is where homogeneous from the sample. F table is bigger than F count is bigger than F table, and then hypothesis is significant effect to the storytelling because of the T count is bigger than T table, and then the conclusion, there is any significant effect of using storytelling toward the student speaking skill at the A grade of SMP Negeri 2 Kerinci. That's my explanation about the storytelling has significant effect. So I think this my presentation. I'm sorry, we have a limited time to explain. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. We'll come back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodi Hartono, for your insightful presentation. And actually, we only have 2 live presenters here, and we have collected 2 questions from Mr. Risang Baskara. So I think before we play the video sent by the other 2 presenters, let's jump directly to answer the questions sent by Mr. Risang Baskara. The first question is for Ibu Senorika Yuliasari. What do you think about the shift from EFL to EIL in our teaching context, and how does global English for language teaching shape the perspective of the teacher or pre-service teacher in their classroom practices? And then the second question also from Mr. Risang Baskara. It is addressed to Mr. Rudy Hartono. There are numerous possible approaches that we can use to maximize the use of storytelling in our speaking classes. One of them is by using digital storytelling. Okay, you can try to utilize Pecha Kucha as one way to conduct digital storytelling to facilitate students SLA. And also, there's a question from Ibu Tri Apriani, but actually the video haven't been played. So we'll just go directly to answer the question for Ms. Senorika Yulesari and for Mr. Rudi Hartono. So for Ms. Senorika Yulesari, can you directly answer the question for Mr. Risang? Ms. Senorika?
Yes, Ms. Nora. Yep. All right. Thank you very much for Mr. Risang for your question. Yes, we are heading that way. If the first question is the shifting from EFL to EIL, yes, we are heading that way. But we hope we can supply our teams in this term is teachers and also students with at least a basic English proficiency, at least the classroom instruction. We know that the dimension of this problem is quite big, right? It's not merely change your language from Indonesian to English, but also what I believe is, and what from the theory that I've read is, it also reaches the social and also cognitive aspect to teach to shift the language instruction. And then the second question is, how can this then change the perspective of the teacher? It can be a good and a bad way. Let's say that, for example, from the bad way, the how can the social subject teacher who in entire life speaking mother language Indonesian language then suddenly required to teach their classroom in an English language, they will I mean they will lose their identity, they will lose their confidence to teach, and they will not reach their target to teach the subject because of their English insufficient. But in a good way, for the millennials teachers, for the teacher who is have a privilege to speak English fluently, it can be a good way to bring this EFL situation to the EIL. So as the closing statement, we should support this government, this country should support from the very basic level, such as giving abundant English practices to the next teachers and so on. I think that's all, Mr. Risang, and thank you, Miss Nora.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Senorika. So how Mr. Risang Maskara, is it answerable about her answer? Mr. Risang, do you have any further discussion or response?
No, I guess my response is we need to pursue further the issue of IEL and global English, especially during the pandemic, because of the trends nowadays. And I guess you are going in the what is it? You're directing yourself in the right way, I guess now, Bu Senorita and Punura. So congratulations on your project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Risang Baskara. So the next
Thank you
question
very
also
much.
from Mr. Risang Baskara, addressed to Mr. Rudy Hartono.
It's only a feedback, Bu Nora. It's only a feedback for Pak Hartono. Pak Hartono,
okay.
It's only a
It's
feedback.
only feedback. It's a response.
Okay, it's not the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Rudy Hartono, do you have any response to Mr. Risang's feedback and comments?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Risang Baskara. Actually, most of the storytellings is used as a method of techniques in teaching, not only in teaching English, but the other subjects. We can use the storytelling how we sell something. For example, we have to tell our brand how to talk about to someone that our brand is good. But here we use the storytelling in teaching speaking. In junior high school, that we know that today most of the storytelling, the others researcher, the others expert say that there is a kind of digital storytelling. This is a good one. Maybe most of the researchers search about the digital storytelling. But based on the context, in the remote area, for example, we are in the remote area. It's very difficult for the student to share, to make. Then the ability of the student also affects to the result of their story. Then and they send to the story to the technology or through the way out, through the emails or the others learning. Learning module in e-learning, for example, is very, very difficult. In the remote area, bandwidth is low, so it's difficult for the student to send their story through the digitally. So this is the problem for me in a rural area. So that you know that in our regencies, it's hard for the student to have a good signal for the internet. Is very. I think I say thank you to the Mr. Risang. It's a good point of view, but in digital storytelling is very, very good. It's make easy for the teacher to analyze the student speak, and then how they pronounce through the technology, and then we can assess easily with the student pronunciation. And then through the real storytelling in the classroom is we have to record, have some effect from the how we record through the audio of the student speaking. Okay, thank you. It's very good question, but I think it's based on the context of situation where we teach in English. This is the problem, I think, Miss Nora.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodi, for your response to Mr. Risang's feedback. So it is really related to our current situation that for in several remote areas, so we cannot totally apply it about digital storytelling. Yeah, I know it. So thank you for Mr. Rodi Artono and Mr. Risang. And actually, we still have two presenters here. So may I call out their names? The first one is Mr. Rafki Hadi. Are you here, Mr. Rafki? And the second one is Miss Tri Apliani Putri. Are you here? Mr. Rafki and Miss Tri? If you're not here, so we just directly will play the video you sent to us. So for the participants and also the presenters here, please enjoy the video sent to the committee. The first video is sent by Mr. Rafki. His presentation is about the implementation of problem-based learning technique to improve students' speaking ability at grade 11 of Islamic Senior High School, Muara Labu. So although he's not here, I think we are here as the audience may also discuss about his paper and presentation. So let's enjoy the video. Is the video can be seen? Can this video seen in your laptop or PC? Can the video be seen?
No, Bu Nora.
No.
No. Udah di share screen tadi? Wait.
Yes, I can see it.
Can you see it? Can you see it now, the video?
Oh,
Still no, Bu Nora.
The video, no, not yet.
Not yet. Coba close dulu videonya. Close dulu. Udah share screen ya? Okay. We are sorry for this technical issue, but we do our best. Can you see the video?
Not yet.
Still no.
Not yet.
So let me share. Oh, not here. Coba lagi. Stop. Okay, stop. Ini kan harusnya. Ini kan. Okay, can you see the video?
Yes,
My
we
audience?
do.
Oh, yes. So let's enjoy the video sent by Mr. Rafki Hadi Yusid.
But there is no sound.
The sound.
The sound, the mic-nya hidup gak? Hidup. So although it is unmute, I think we can read his PowerPoint on the video. We are really sorry for this technical issue, but we can enjoy the video through the PowerPoint he shows to us. No.
bigger than T-table, 6.05, bigger
Okay, can you hear the sound of the
than
video?
1.671. It's meant that the learning result of teaching speaking by using problem-based learning technique gave significant improvement than teaching and learning process without on student speaking ability. It was seen that the first blueprint until last blueprint of indicator of questionnaire. From 20 item of questionnaire, most of student 60% gave a good response. The researcher conclude that the problem-based learning had a greater contribution and more significant improvement teaching process. It improves student ability in speaking and self-confidence. Conclusion. The mean of experimental class was 66.14 and 554.31 for control class. It meant that the application of problem-based learning technique was effective to improve student speaking ability. Briefly, the application of problem-based learning technique in teaching speaking could improve student speaking ability and at class 11 of Islamic Senior High School, Moralabu. And that's all for my presentation today. And thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so that's all the video sent from Mr. Rafki Hadi Yusid. So actually we still have one presenter here, Ms. Tri Apliani Putri. So Ms. Tri, are you here? Ms. Tri Apliani Putri, are you here? If not, we just directly play the video you sent to us. So dear participants and presenter, let's enjoy the video presentation recorded by Ms. Tri Apliani Putri. She will deliver a presentation entitled The Authentic Assessment Used for Assessing Speaking at Senior High School in Muko. So please enjoy the video. Play. Okay, can you see the video?
My name is Tri Apiani Putri.
No.
Yes, the main-
Tri Apriani Putri, are you here? No? Okay, so let's enjoy the video. So my dear participants and presenters, can you see the video?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So wait a minute. My partner is screen sharing the video right now. So maybe due to some technical issues, we need several minutes to share the screen, to share the video to us. Bisa.
Please unmute, Miss Nora. You're still mute.
My participants and speaker, can you see the video?
No.
Not yet. Udah di Moro yang tadi.
Tri Apiani
Nggak anymore. Oke, baik. Bisa di more yang tadi. Iya suaranya. Ini masih belum.
used for assessing speaking at senior high school in Muko. Thanks to the committee for the chance that given to me. My name is Tri Apiani Putri as the main author. Professor Dr. Yeni Rozimila, MED, PhD, and Dr. Zul Amri, MED, as my advisor. For this opportunity, I would like to present about my study. The title is The Authentic Assessment Used for Assessing Speaking at Senior High School in Muko. For the first one is introduction. Assessment is needed by the teachers to collect information in order to know about student progress and how far the student understand about the material that they have learned. Especially for speaking, the teacher should use appropriate assessment to know how far the student can speak in English. So that's why an assessment must measure what it should be measured. Based on some previous studies, there are some of teachers who still tend to use inappropriate instrument for assessing speaking. For example, they still use written tests or multiple choice tests. Consequently, teacher didn't know how far the student can practice their English. One of the assessments that can be used by the teacher to assess their student speaking ability is authentic assessment. By using authentic assessment, the teacher can measure the student in various ways depending on the learning outcome to be achieved. And it is also the assessment which recommended by Minister of Education and Culture. The purpose of this study is to find out the types of authentic assessment used by the English teachers for assessing students' speaking ability. Next is methodology. The type of this study is a descriptive qualitative. There are 3 teachers from different schools who participate in this study. They choose based on 2 criteria. The first criteria is the teacher have implemented the authentic assessment, and the second one is they have long experience in teaching English, at least 5 years. There are 2 instruments that was used in this study: observation sheet and interview guidance. After analyze the data, the researcher found that there are 5 types of authentic assessment that have used by the teacher for assessing their student speaking ability. For instance, oral interview, role play, picture kit description, or stories pictures, oral report, and the last one is text retelling. Dealing with the result, all of the teachers who participate in this study have used various types of authentic assessment for assessing their students' speaking ability. They have used 5 types from nine type of authentic assessment, which proposed by O'Malley and Pierce. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the end of the video sent by Ms. Tri Aprilia. So actually, Mr. Risang Baskara have a question addressed to Ms. Tri, but since she's not here, so we try our best to accommodate your questions to her, okay? And we still have about 12 minutes to discuss before we end this first parallel session. Mr. Risang Baskara has something to discuss together. You can see on the chat box. He said that something to discuss together, like there are several possible issues with PBL. They are potentially poorer performance on tests, students' unpreparedness, teacher unpreparedness, time-consuming assessment, and varying degrees of relevancy and applicability. So this is our current condition and also problems and challenges. So for our presenters here, we may discuss these questions together. So for those who want to express the response, please mention your name, your affiliation, and also your feedback for this question. We have about 23 participants here, so everybody can share their opinions and also point of view towards the question given by Mr. Risang Baskara. Anybody wants to give their sharing, knowledge, opinion, or point of view? It's about any kind of issue related to our English language teaching. And he also gives 5 points, which is usually found in our teaching and learning process. So anybody here wants to share the opinion? Okay, Mr. Risang Baskara, can you hear me? Mr. Risang Baskara, can
Yes,
you hear me?
Punora.
Okay, maybe you can directly or lively tell to our participants here about the question or ideas, perhaps, rather than me myself to read your chat. Okay, so Mr. Risang, time is yours.
I'm not exactly presenter in this session, actually.
That's okay. That's okay. That's
I'm
okay.
presenting in the second
Yeah.
session. So, by the way,
Okay.
Bapak dan Ibu semuanya, so there are several interesting issues that we discussed during the session, and one of them is the implementation of project-based learning. But we have to really embrace the fact that we also have some possible issues later on during the implementation of project-based learning. I wrote 5 possible issues in the chat. One of the things that we have to really pay a close attention is our student unpreparedness, especially during this pandemic. So it is actually my concern, and I would like to share this concern, as I think it will be a common concern to all of the teachers all around Indonesia, especially during this pandemic. And I would like to hear actually what will you do, or what good practices that you have in your classroom to deal with these issues, to solve the problems, not only in PBL but in any other approach that you have to this COVID-19 pandemic. And I guess it will be a very good time to share and to discuss in these conferences. Thank you, Punora, and I would like to give the floor to anybody that wants to share in this session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Risang. So, my dear participants and presenter, all of you have opportunities to share your opinions, and also maybe you have several problem solving for this concern, also current situation, especially for the 5 points Mr. Risang share here. Okay, everybody, anybody wants to share their opinions and also point of view? Or maybe Mr. Risang, they would like to privately chat you, perhaps, maybe because some of them are preparing for the next presentation. Okay, so I think it is the end of our first parallel session, and it's an honor for us to have you here because we have a very delightful and insightful discussion, especially for the speaker, distinguished guests, and also participants. So, and I believe that the presentation, papers, and talks we share here can contribute to the development of English language teaching and also research worldwide. So we will begin the second parallel session at 11:15. So if you are the next presenter in the second session and you are still in this room, you may stay here. Or if you want to choose another room to join, you may choose what room you want to join. Okay, so it's the end of our session. Thank you for your attention, and we are really sorry for any technical issue. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Nah, kita pindah yang kedua. Okay, my dear participants and also presenters, I just want to prepare for our next parallel session. So we actually have 5 presenters here, Mr. Risang Baskara, Ismi Solihatun, Mr. Antonio Suratno, Mr. Muhammad Wirarizki, and Miss Nur Aisyah Zulkifli. And it seems to me that we already have 3 presenters here, Mr. Antonio Suratno, Mr. Risang Baskara, Miss Nur Aisyah Zulkifli. Okay, we will wait for the 2 presenters and we will begin the second parallel session at 11:15. For the next presenter, you may test your sound and also video. It is allowed to you to test your speaker and also video and also to test the share screen. So we will not waste our time. So you may test how to share the screen and also to test your audio. It is allowed.
Punura, can I? Okay.
Yes, yes, Mr.
Okay,
Rizka.
after Pak Suratno. After
Okay, okay. Okay, Mr. Anton, it is visible for us. Okay, Mr. Rizka, Mr. Risang, I'm sorry. And also Miss Nur Aisyah, you may also taste the video and also audio.
Can you hear my sound, ma'am?
Oh, yes, I can hear you, Miss. Yes, I can hear you.
Aisyah.
Yeah, you Miss Nur Aisyah. Okay, I can hear you, Miss Nur Aisyah. Okay,
Punura.
and yes, this is yours, Mr. Risang. Yes,
Okay,
it is
thank
visible
you.
here. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Nur Aisyah, you can taste your share
Okay,
screen.
let's try. It's mine.
Oh, yes, it is visible.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wait, how is it? Stop. Sorry, I have tried to change the background, but I can't.
Oh, that's okay. Have you downloaded the image, Miss?
It's already.
It's already, and you all
Yes,
have
I have.
changed the
Yeah, I
background.
changed the background on the Zoom, but it's not run.
Oh, so it doesn't work. That's okay, Miss. As long as our presentation runs smoothly, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Miss. So the first presenters will be Mr. Risang Baskara. The second should be Miss Ismi Solihatun, but if she's not here, the second presenter will be Mr. Antonio Suratno. And the fourth one should be Mr. Muhammad Wirarizki. But if he's not here, it will be Miss Nur Aisyah Zulkifli. Okay, is it understandable? Yes, thank you. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say welcome to our second parallel session of the 8th International Conference on English Language Teaching, held by English Department of Faculty of Languages and Arts, Universitas Negeri Padang. And I, Nora Futla, will be your moderator along with my partner, Mahdi and Nafra Maulana. And this parallel session will be held for an hour and will be divided into two sessions, the presentation and the questions and answer session. So during the presenter present the paper, you may, if you have several questions or comment, you may directly type to the chat box and please mention your name, affiliation, and to whom your questions or response is addressed to. And before we start the presentations, and in order to avoid any disturbances during the presentations later, I would like to ask you to change the mode of your gadget into silent or turn off your gadget. And besides, let me kindly remind you all that every presenter is allowed 5 minutes to present, and the points to be presented are only the title of the papers or presentation, the objective of the study, and the results and discussion. So we are humbly asking you to skip other aspects other than I've mentioned before. And actually, we have 5 presenters here. There should be Mr. Risang Baskara, Miss Ismi Solikhatun, Mr. Antonio Suratno, Mr. Muhammad Wira Rizki, and Miss Nur Aisyah Zulkifli. But actually, we have already 3 presenters coming here, and the first presenters will be Mr. Risang Baskara. He will deliver a presentation entitled Supporting Students Learning Through Remote Flipped Classroom During the COVID-19 Pandemic. So for Mr. Risang Baskara, time is yours.
Thank you, Bunora. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will present my ongoing project this semester, as well as a part of my PhD study, which is designing and implementing remote flipped classroom during the pandemic. So let's start. COVID-19 pandemic has forced schools and universities, including the students and teachers, to conduct the teaching and learning processes from home through online classes. One proposed model during the pandemic is remote flipped classroom. Remote flipped classroom is an alternative framework for conceptualizing, designing, and researching the practice of the flipped learning approach during this COVID-19 pandemic. The goal of remote flipped classroom is to create a direct instruction lesson, which is the asynchronous session, as the distance learning work. So the classroom time, which is the synchronous session, can be saved for the application of skills, collaboration, and discussion. Remote flipped classroom argues that by maximizing the asynchronous session for before and after activities, teachers can deliver content and assignments remotely with more explicit instruction. Even with more or less low technology, learners can interact with contents, assignments, homework questions, and discussion forum to support engagement with teachers and other students. The benefit is being able to do this without the need for participants to be online at the same time. Student will do most of the comprehension groundwork before the class in asynchronous sessions. For example, watching a pre-recorded lecture and making notes, or pre-learning vocabulary using audio annotated PowerPoint. A fully remote flipped class with interactive content is more easily deliverable in completely online situation like this COVID-19 pandemic, where all the students are accessing both the material asynchronously and live synchronous classroom remotely. The live session can exploit task-based learning and free production, with the teacher focusing on the more difficult tasks of language production and assessment. So what does it look like? So this is the syntax of the remote flipped classroom model that I designed. Remote flipped classroom happens when the teacher opts by necessity to take their face-to-face class online because of the pandemic. Classes are designed to be taught face-to-face, but because of the pandemic, they are conducted remotely. The class follow the principle of flipped learning approach, which consists of out-class and in-class activities. Out-class activities are conducted asynchronously and made into 2 sessions, before and after the class. In-class activities or during class activities are conducted synchronously in the form of live video conference with the students. Teacher may be designing the course as they teach it 1 week to the next week during the pandemic, changing the expectation accordingly to the needs of the students. Course structure is built on a virtual learning environment or learning management system, in which all the course content is stored online and accessible to all the students 24/7. Lectures typically include pre-recorded lecture as well as a PPT with audio notation and written version of the lecture. Discussion forum facilitates the peer-to-peer and teacher-to-students conversation. And in the learning model, you can see even though the class is conducted online, the teacher still has the element of control on the direction of the learning taking place. So the biggest question of the day, how remote flipped classroom can actually support our students during this pandemic. First, it mimics the classroom environment as the students learn through computer. This means that the students needs to log in to the virtual learning environment or learning management system as scheduled time to view lectures, access the materials, or participate in class activities. Thus, it has a higher level of accountability. It is harder for students to fall behind when they must check in every week for virtual classes. Remote flipped classroom also mirrors the traditional classroom, and for the students who learn well with this setting, the structure in this instructional learning model is a kind of benefit. Next, through remote flipped classroom, we can not only support our students while they are learning at home, but the most important thing is we are preparing and nurturing them back into the physical classroom while the transitional phase taking place. With this learning model, the teacher will be able to do class activities through small groups in the breakout rooms activity in the synchronous session, and the students will be able to grow a virtual sense of belonging as their learning outcomes will be shared with peers, bringing back the collective word into the classroom. The instructional model can continue without disruption even after the COVID-19 pandemic. It can be one of the possible learning model in the new normal, even in the hybrid classroom with blended learning approach. And the last one, it provides greater flexibility for the students to work at their own pace, and they can review the materials without the fear of getting lost during the teacher explanation. And Bonora, one last minute. To close my presentation, I would like to say that we need to move from our survival learning model during the pandemic, during our emergency remote teaching, into something which is more sustainable for our students, even after the pandemic, moving on into the new normal. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, remote flip classroom. Thank you. Goes back to you, Punora.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Risang Baskara. Let's give a big applause for Mr. Risang Baskara. That's very good presentation. And let me welcome Associate Professor Lee Kui Cheng, who also joined this room. Hello, Miss. Yeah, you also joined this room. So let's welcome our Associate Professor Lee Kui Cheng. And for the next presenters, it seems to me that Miss Ismi Solihatun is already here. Miss Ismi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so are you ready for the next presenter? Okay, are you
Yes.
ready to be the next presenter? Okay, so time is yours.
Okay. Can I use my PPT?
Yes, of course. You may share the screen.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the International Conference on English Language and Teaching. Hello. Okay. In this occasion, I'd like to give my article to propose my to deliver my article entitled "The Potential of Augmented Reality for Vocational High School Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic." I am Ismi Sori Khatun as the first author, Sukirno as the second author, Arif Ahyudado as the third author, and Sayidatul Maslahah as the fourth author. Well, before I go on for my speech, I'm from economic education, so I mean, like, if my English is not really good, so I'm sorry in advance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the COVID-19 has changed the learning environment in Indonesia. We do a learning, distance learning, and this distance learning is also have impact for vocational high school learning. For practical learning, the vocational high school learning is a school that prepares students to enter industrial world and prepares the student to have high competencies. So, because they have to synchronize the competencies between the industrial world and also the school material, so they do practical laboratory and also the training in industrial world. But because the COVID-19, the learning, the laboratory practical and also the training in the industrial world has to stop. So it becomes a problem for vocational high school student. In other hand, there are augmented reality that can be used as a simulation learning. Well, augmented reality can facilitate to do a practical learning for vocational high school student. Well, the purpose of this article is to provide a literature review of the potential of augmented reality in vocational high school learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. The method that I use in this article is I synthesize 41 relevant articles from Journal International Conferences article between 2013 and 2020 from Google Scholar. Well, this article was limited to articles that focused on augmented reality in vocational high school, implementation of augmented reality with mobile phones, and literature review of the benefit of augmented reality for education. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the result of this study. Based on the theory of interactive media effect, it says that augmented reality is kind of interactive media effect. Augmented reality is kind of interactive media. While interactive media will provide immersive experience for students and affect the aspect of affective, cognitive, and behavior of students. So it's very, very useful for learning medium. Augmented reality is combined the virtual world and the real world in the same time to creating simulation learning at vocational high school. Simulation learning replaces the function of laboratory and also industrial working particle for vocational high school students during the distance learning in COVID-19 pandemic. Then augmented reality is can depicting three models manipulating objects virtually, providing experience based on an abstract concept compared to, well, we compare to the practical rendering from videos like a YouTube. This learning using augmented reality is more interactive because it has two-way interaction between the users and also the learning media. Well, in YouTube, we only see one interaction between the learning media to the students. Previous research has successfully developed and made augmented learning media as an effective and valid medium for use in vocational high school learning. Besides of the function of the augmented reality for the substitute of simulation learning, augmented reality also has another potential for vocational education. First, it improves student understanding. Augmented reality provides students with an understanding of improving high thinking skills, creativity, and also critical analysis. And then, second, it has a longer memory level. The use of augmented reality can improve users' memory with interesting experience and gain experience gained during the media use. And third, increase the student motivation. Augmented reality is an interactive media learning that can increase student interest, concentration, and also satisfaction with the use of the new technologies in learning. For it doesn't need require advanced device to run. Most augmented reality can be used in mobile phones. It means that in distance learning, we use mobile phones. So I think that it doesn't really matter to implement the augmented reality for learning media. And the last is reducing cost learning, because the augmented reality reduce direct costs and also material costs as well as laboratory maintenance costs. So if we do augmented reality for the next learning, it can reduce the cost material, like we don't need to maintain the laboratory and kind of it. Okay. Conclusion. So distance learning has various objectives, especially for professional high school students. So
You still have 1 minute. Yeah, you still have 1 minute.
Yeah. So in conclusion, distance learning has various obstacles, especially for vocational high school students who have to carry out laboratory practice learning and industrial working practice. Augmented reality technology is one of the alternatives that can be used to simulate practical learning by visualizing objects in 3D and still involves two-way interaction between students and learning media. Another potential augmented reality based learning in vocational high school are to improve student understanding, have longer memory, increase motivation, not require advanced equipment in information, and also reduce on the learning cost. I think that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Mi Solihatun, for your insightful presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our third presenter, Mr. Antonius Suratno. He will deliver a presentation entitled Designing Augmented Reality-Based Learning Media, its compatibility to blended learning, and it is, I think it is really related to what Ms. Ismi have presented before. So, for Mr. Antonius Suratno, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miss Nora. Ibu Nora. Miss, yeah?
Yes. You may turn on your video, mister.
Hang on, sorry. Slide share. Sure. Sorry, let me. Sorry, it takes some time to.
Yes, we can hear you, mister.
Okay, hang on. I want to show the complete the full screen. Can you see my slide now?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay, Bapak Ibu, dear audience, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, I would say hello, Padang. Okay, because to be honest, I've been wishing to see Padang for quite a while. 2 years ago, I think I sent an abstract and I was accepted by the committee in the same seminar as well, I guess, of ICOELT. However, because of one or another reason, I failed to come direct to Padang at that time. So I was lucky. It is very late to hear as well that you have another ICOELT, which is amazing to me. And to be honest, I was among the latest to sign up because there is also technical error when I was sending my abstract and all the required documents. Everything that I already sent was not recorded by the committee. That's what's really happening with me. So I am among the last who really joined in this conference. However, it's really great to be able to see you despite being virtually. Right, Bapak Ibu, as we can already hear from Pak Risang and Miss, I forget the name, Nur Aisyah as well. Okay, so part of my study has been explained by both of you, in fact. So it's closely connected to what you already discussed in your presentation. So maybe I will add some part of it. And to be honest, I prepared 28 something slides, and in the last minutes, we were only asked to only submit 5 slides, which is pretty shocking to me, and I don't know which is one I would start with and which one I should end with. Okay, so probably a bit brief about this study. My study is part of a bigger project. In fact, it is a small part of what we've been starting. Well, we started last year, and then it is supposed to be finished end of this year. And luckily, I was funded. I mean, this project is done by me and my friend from different departments, and we are designing this media. And then this year is the moment for us to really put this media into trial. However, due to the pandemic situation, everything that we already decently planned before, everything becomes like chaotic as well, in the sense that we should try out this design of the game into the real context of blended learning this year. So what I report probably is not really telling the whole truth of what we've been doing, but partly we want to see what we have been doing here, and then maybe it can slightly share something we have already had. and then expecting from you some comment or something. So the title of our study is designing, yeah, augmented reality speed read. So the title of the abstract slightly different, I guess, but more or less what is meant by augmented reality media is called augmented reality speed read. Yeah, and its compatibility to blended learning. So once again, I would say that, well, probably it is not the right context in this unexpected pandemic situation, because we begin this idea when we still live in old normal rather than new normal. In the old normal, we are thinking that technology like augmented reality, which probably among the recent technology in over, okay, it offers chance for the conventional style learning, which is face-to-face, to more attractive one, which allows students to interact with the learning content. So this is the initial idea. We live in a old normal, okay? Because we believe that what is offered by the augmented reality is compatible with the recent mobile technological advancement, with the widespread use of mobile gadgets, such as mobile phones, tablets, etc. and so on. Okay, and they are becoming increasingly powerful and ubiquitous, and everybody can now get access to it and can afford, can be affordable to most of the people in our era now. The use of tablets and mobile learning, has become increasingly common since the presence of the many new gadget with the state-of-the-art gadgets, which people can have just now. Okay, so with this technology, we were thinking that it is probably among the ideal response to the situation of old normal, by combining the technology into the blended learning context.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Anton, you still have 2 minutes left, Mr.
So we think that besides attractive, augmented reality is immersive in the sense that students experience authentic physical and mental situations similar to the world, to the real life situation, and then they can learn a lot better, like what is explained by Ms. Aisa just now. Okay, so let me go straight. So the purpose here is just to try out the workability of the game and whether it is compatible for blended learning. And it is to describe responses towards the potential of blended learning. Should be method, not the research purpose. So it's wrong. Okay, so our method it's called iterative method with rapid prototyping via quasi experiments and survey. And I don't particularly focus on the quasi experiments because it is only reporting whether the game is actually readily usable for that. And after that, we'll be reporting in different contexts of seminar, probably how the experiments is successful or not successful. It's going to be next. And among the initial research finding out of our trial is that the validity of the content and construct aspect were both very good. That's according to the response of the respondents. And the game itself is considered decent product, attractive and easy to use for independent learning and group learning, actually, because we designed it in a board game involving maximum 4 students. And the media is readily usable for the real contact blended learning, which is proven by at least what is said by the respondents in the questionnaire. So in conclusion, again, it is probably pretty simplistic, but the game has been found interesting and easy to play, giving valuable credits to the game design, suggesting the game is readily used for function, and then it is also useful for the real context of blended learning, supposing that we come to a similar context of face-to-face again. However, the second claim probably is in this particular moment is not I wouldn't say it's pretty valid, simply because when we try out the games, which was initially planned for real face-to-face, didn't materialize simply because all we can do was by distance testing, distance trying out as well. And one of which is probably among the most obvious flaw is that the initial idea to use the board game is not materialized. We cannot just use it simply because all we can do in the trial is all distance. That's all, I guess, what I can share. So supposing that you probably ask questions or provide feedback to me, then it's going to be great input for me in order for our groups of researchers to make it more, yeah, at least close to, well, yeah, better and decent work of game, I guess. Thank you. Okay, time says I put it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Antonius. So if you have questions or response to the previous presenters, you may directly type in the chat box and please mention your name, your affiliation, and to whom your address is, to whom your question is addressed to. So actually, the fourth presenter should be Mr. Muhammad Wira Rizki, but it seems that he doesn't come yet. So we just go directly to the fifth presenter, Ms. Nur Aisyah Zulkifli, and she will deliver a presentation entitled Teacher Challenge and Technical Issues in Online Schools. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Nur Aisyah Zulkifli. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Nora. Okay, good day, everyone. Welcome to the 6th International Conference on English Language and Teaching, ICOELT, Universitas Negeri Padang, 2030. Okay, I am as the first presenter, Nur Aisyah Zulkifli, Ibu Mardia Hayati and Ibu Mirawati Bubrati are here. We are from Winsus Karyau. We'll explain our presentations about the teacher challenge and tech issue in online school. Sorry. Okay, this study developed under the assumption that the benefits of technological development today for education work. It cannot be denied that there are many schools use technology in teaching and learning process. On the other hand, the technologies tools such as application adapt to the curriculum and teaching technique. So the teachers should be used the technology in the classroom situation. Regarding to the pandemic situation, in incorporating new learning system in a pandemic situation, the technology integration presents significant challenge for the teacher at every level at educational system. So what is the problem right now? The teacher must be ready with online application with when face-to-face doesn't happen once. So the teacher should use the application, but in fact, lack of facilities in the form of integrated technology to support the online learning process and adequate facilities between teachers and students make the learning process online is not as effective as expected. So, on the other hand, the teacher and student felt disappointed and frustrating. This is the situation that happened in schooling, online schooling. So what happened with the online teaching during COVID-19? School is closed. So based on the regulation from the Ministry of Education, the learning from home through online distance learning implemented to provide a meaningful learning experience for students without being burdened with demands to complete all achievement curriculum for class promotion and graduation. And the second one, learning from home can be focused on life skill education regarding to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next, home learning activities and assignment can vary between students according to their interest and condition, considering gap in assessed learning facilities at home. Last, the situation in online teaching on that is evidence or product of learning activities from homes are given qualitative feedback from the teacher without being required to give a quantitative score. So based on the situation, we are as the author conducted the research using qualitative exploratory method with an inductive approach. So the researcher or the author dimension concern the external challenge to classroom technology during the COVID-19 situation. We want to describe and explore the situation, the challenge for teacher relate to the external challenge to classroom technology. The study does not intend to test a hypothesis, but only describe the data so that it can find phenomena and trends as well as the possibility of various challenges that the teacher has experienced using this application. So in here we observe what application that used by teachers using the online schooling. So the data obtained from the 6 respondents, that is all of the respondents is the teacher, and the instrument, the structured interview were conducted with questions that were compiled and linked and developed with related literature. The findings show that the teacher challenge during this pandemic surrounding assess constraint included insufficient equipment or connectivity. The implementation of technology, the use of technology will not work well in online school day when the teacher do not have the adequate laptop or mobile phone and good internet connection. So this is the finding that we found in online schooling. The second challenge faced by the teacher during the pandemic situation that is the inadequate training related to the technology. Teacher will not able to use technology optimally if it is not supported by effective training on new technology. In fact, there are many, it still found the teacher who do not able to operate the technology to support the teaching and learning process using the online situation.
Okay, I'm
Last,
sorry,
it's
Mr.
related to
Aisha.
the factor.
You still have
Yes.
1 minute left.
Okay. Last, it's related to the factor to support the constraint, support barriers to the technically integrated include schedule, inadequate technical support. This is the finding and that we found during the online schooling. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion related to the use of technology has a major contribution in educational institution, including the achievement of distance learning goal for online schooling. Last, the challenge faced by the teacher during this pandemics or the unpreparedness of teacher technical education and the issue are student in unproductive learning and boredom during online learning. Okay, this is my presentation. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Nur Aisha. So actually, we haven't collected any questions or response to the 4 presenters. So while waiting for your question and also response, so let's enjoy the video prepared by Mr. Muhammad Wira Rizki. His paper is about teaching methods, selecting the most appropriate teaching methods for e-learning. So let's enjoy the video prepared by Mr. Muhammad Wira Rizki. And we also wait for your questions and response for the presenters because we still have time. You may type your questions or respond directly to the chat box, and please mention your name, your affiliation, and also to whom your question is addressed to.
Teaching methods, selecting the
Ms. Nora, is the Q&A live or by chat?
You can type your question or respond in the live chat box. Or if you want to go directly, ask maybe after the video has been played.
Okay.
Lagi jalan. Okay, dear participants and presenters, can you see the video? Can you see the video? Itu udah jalan. Coba jalan aja dulu.
selecting or e-learning.
Yeah, can you see the video?
First of all, we have to know.
Oh, okay. Can you see the video and also hear the sound? My dear participants and presenters, can you see the video?
No, Bu Nora.
No, not yet. During waiting for the video to be shared, you may type your
Welcome to the
questions and
introduction.
respond in the chat box. Okay, it seems there is a technical issues and also errors to play the video. So, but we try our best. So let's gather questions and also response to the 4 presenters who have presented their papers before. You may type your question and also respond to the chat box.
Introduction.
Can you see the video? It's actually shown in our PC personal computer, but can you see the video? It has already shared in our personal computer. Can you see the video?
No, Bu Nora.
No.
Such as the internet.
Okay. Okay, can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, let's enjoy the video first.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rizky. I'm a student from Universitas Negeri Padang. Today, I'm going to present my article entitled Teaching Methods, Selecting the Most Appropriate Teaching Methods for Online Learning or E-Learning. We come to the introduction. First of all, we have to know what is e-learning. E-learning can be defined as learning using electronic technologies to access educational curriculum outside of a traditional classroom. So, in most cases, it refers to a course, program, or degree delivered completely online. So basically, learning is just learning, but with using technologies such as the internet and computers, so that the teachers and the student doesn't have to meet physically, but they can use the internet to communicate and interact. So why do e-learning teaching methods differ from conventional methods? The answer is because there are some aspects in conventional learning that e-learning doesn't have. So, for example, the e-learning cannot achieve like the physical contact of the students and the teachers. So the teachers and the students can be close emotionally. So the methods will be different. And we come to the discussion. What are the possible e-learning teaching methods? So the first one is synchronous approach. It requires the synchronization in learning. It means that the learning conducted between the student and the teachers happens in the same time, in real time. So when the teachers access the, for example, the application Zoom, the student can meet the teachers in the same time. So basically it is the same with the conventional learning, but in online, and it is basically the face-to-face communication. And the second approach is asynchronous approach. It is different from the synchronous approach. Learning doesn't need to be in real time, so the self-paced platforms can also be used for effective learning. Example of the websites or applications are Google Classroom, Moodle, etc. So in this approach, the teacher can give the students like some tasks or exercises, and they can do it later, but not in the same time the exercise is being given. And the third one is collaborative learning approach. So students are able to interact with other students and instructors. For example, they can use WhatsApp chats to share ideas and collaborate and discuss the topics given by the teachers or lecturers. And the conclusion is there are three recent learning methods to be practiced in online learning. The first one is synchronous approach. The second one is asynchronous approach. And the third one is collaborative learning approach. So the best online learning method from these three is the synchronous approach because it resembles the more learning methods the most. And the teacher will have more emotional connection due to the real-time connection via video with their students. If the synchronous approach can be done because of some reasons, asynchronous and collaborative learning approach can be practiced. That's all for my presentation. I'm sorry for the mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have one question addressed to Ibu Aisyah from Mr. Risang Baskara, and also the question to discuss together. Okay, these technical and technological challenges faced by teachers can lead to teacher burnout during the pandemic. When teachers don't have the resources they need, and especially when we sustain job demands are high, teachers experience chronic stress. Oh yes, and eventually burn out. That's right. How do we deal with this issue, and especially from the perspective of the school administrator? Okay, Miss Nur Aisha, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Nora. This is a nice question, but it should be discussed together. Thank you very much for the question, Miss Risang Baskara. Thank you. Actually, it's related to your question. Actually, especially from the perspective of school administrator. It should be answered by us actually, but we discuss together. Okay, based on my research finding, this is a big challenge for the teacher related to the technology issue for online schooling. Of course, this make all of the teachers actually burn out. Based on my finding that the teacher have a challenge making a video interactive, but on the other hand they have to teach their student. So how about in the perspective of school administrative schooling, I think that the school should be considers about the teachers teaching hours, because they have to consider about the students' psychological, and we cannot say that this is a mistake from the school. On the other hand, the school only follow the procedure from the governments to conduct the online learning. So both of the teachers, both of the students, and the government just, this is the situation on the pandemic situation. So we have to, what do you call that? How to say it? To consider the burning out of the teacher. This is a problem that we can solve. We cannot solve this situation and the challenge. So what should the what do you call it? What should the school, the administrators school just follow the government procedure? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nur Aisha. So, Mr. Risang, do you have any comments or response to her answer?
I would like to bring the issue of teacher support teachers during the pandemic. We somehow initiate this in our university. So there were some teachers or lecturers who made PPT or any other digital learning media, and then they share the materials for the English teachers around Yogyakarta. So sometimes we cannot depend ourselves on the administrators because they have so many problems as well at schools, and in this case during the pandemic, I guess we have to be together. Teacher should support teacher. So I guess that's my last comment for Voisa. Great presentation, Voisa, and thank you very much for your responses.
Okay, thank Mr. Risang. And we have one respondent question from Mr. Antonio Suratno. He said that his question, I mean, perhaps it is Mr. Risang question, is in fact the one I raised during the plenary session, which was unanswered. Today, learning platforms and tools are easy to access, each with its own sophistication. However, when it comes to mode and delivery, many things are never straightforward, in particular for the synchronous teaching purpose, such as discussion, debate, observation, like in a laboratory. Also, with the issues of honesty and authenticity of students' work. Yes, that's right, Mr. Anybody can respond and share ideas about the above issue. So everybody here can share your ideas and also point of view related to Mr. Anto Suratno's question. We may discuss it together. We still have about 13 minutes to discuss. We invite every presenters and participants here to discuss about this question.
Probably among you who have experience in coping with the issue I just now mentioned in this forum, in this group, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Anyone have a problem, or it is me who have a problem?
Yeah, I'm also thinking about that. Is it only us to have that problem or that concern, or anybody have already solved that? So if once have already solved that problems, you may share your ideas and opinion here. We still have time to discuss. Maybe Miss Nur Aisyah, you may share your ideas. Miss Komang, Mr. Rodi Hartono.
Miss Nora, can I add something?
Yes. Oh, yes, of course.
Not too quiet, so it's better to talk, right?
Okay, I see.
My colleague teaches, because we all of us here are teachers, yeah. So this pandemic seems to be blessing, but it's also curse in one way.
Yes.
Or another. Okay, so to be honest, I myself is a senior person, yeah. And to be honest, with this pandemic, I learned a lot. Yeah. Despite some, well, probably some still need to learn again and again and again. And through the pandemic, especially the first month of the pandemic, it was the moment when I in person and friends of mine myself was struggling how to run the class to really to really make the class similar to face-to-face. And technology seems to be good already, however, when it comes to certain types of material, okay? A lecture may be among the issues because it's a stop and people listen. And then probably question and answer can be done after someone is asking. But when it comes to interaction, yeah, noticing what people activity, yeah, or passive or active, it is not that easy with lots of handicaps of connection and distance, personal excuse, etc., and so on. Also, well, among the biggest concern when it comes to examination, because last semester in particular, okay, I did all the examinations, partly still combination between digital and manual. I send the material partly, yeah, and partly it's digital. In this semester, I changed all I did in last semester because I designed all my quizzes online, yeah, for all my subjects. Yeah. However, it is still not the ideal one in terms of how I deliver my thesis to my students. There is an issue of dishonesty. There is an issue of there is an issue of probably joking, etc., and so on. We never know what is happening out there when it comes to examination. And we as teachers sometimes ask, how can we cope with this particular issue in order to make sure that any kinds of tests or quizzes are at least close to the real tests that we can observe directly, that we can invigilating, can be invigilating directly. It's all the things that we have to really try to find out with regard to the tools and the technology that we have right now. Obviously, technology has taught us a lot in improving our knowledge with regard to the teaching. However, the big message is still there that we have to answer and then try to find out.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Antonius, for your response. And actually, our Dr. Lee Kui Cheng has also responded in the chat box that she wants to discuss about it in the plenary session this afternoon. So we will wait for her presentation. And she also shared a blog on lab-based teaching online. So we may see the blog shared by Dr. Lee Kui Cheng later on. You may copy paste the link and watch it later on. So because there's nothing more question to discuss here. So I would like to say that our next agenda is the lunch break, and our third parallel session will be open or will be begin at 1:30. So please, you may have your lunch break, but please don't leave the meeting room. So you may go back to the main room, but please don't leave the meeting room. So I think it is the end of our second parallel session. It's an honor for us to have you here, to have your insightful and also informative talk. And me, myself, Nora Fulai, along with my partner Mahdi, we are really, we want to say thanks for your attention, and we are really sorry for such a convenience. So see you at the third parallel session, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so everybody, you may leave the breakout room and go back to the main room, but please do not leave the main room. Thank you.
dear presenters and also participants, we will have a lunch break up to 1:30 p.m. and then we will continue to the third parallel session. After that, afterward, we'll have the second plenary session. So you are allowed to have lunch, and then we will come back later. And please do not leave the meeting room, the main session, because we're going to continue our conference later. So we will have our lunch break up to 1:30 p.m. and we will continue the third parallel session at 1:30 p.m.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the main of ICOELT.
Yeah, dear presenters and participants, welcome back to the main session of the conference. And we will have lunch. We will have a lunch break up to 1:30 p.m. And then we will continue to the third parallel session at 1:30. And then afterward, we're going to have the second plenary session with two more speakers, with Associate Professor Lee Koi Cheng and Professor Dr. Jufrizal M. Hum. So please do not leave the meeting, and we will come back to you later. Thank you.
Three purposes of this paper. So the first one is to know the student responses to the implementation of weekly online quiz on online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second one is the benefit of weekly quiz on online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. And then the last one is to find the obstacle faced by the student in doing the weekly online quiz. Okay, the data here is the primary and qualitative data, and then the questionnaire was used to collect it. The separate question was asked to participants of 50 students. After collecting the data, then it was analyzed by doing the following steps. So reading the questionnaire, and then grouping, describing, and concluding. And then next, the data was presented in textual and graphical. We used narrative and also graphic. Next, about finding and result. So about the student responses, we found that all of the students agreed to implement the weekly online quiz. This cannot be avoided from the benefit provided. The result of the questionnaire so that there are several other benefits they get from assessing. The first one is confidence. So when students are successful in doing the quiz, that makes they feel more confident that they are able to learn independently. The second one is the motivation. So the motivation of by the student is the motivation to learn, either to read back the material or look for other references. And there's also a sense of curiosity as to what kind of questions are given. So they want to, so that make they want to immediately read and doing the quiz. And then the next one is remember the material. So the implementation of this quiz certainly asked to do not to just forget about the material, but they need to remember and understand that. Next, about the time management. In online learning, where there is no direct supervision from the lecturer, will make the students often postpone to work and even wait until they have a good mood to learn. And some students said that by doing the quiz, their management became better. They didn't postpone to do the quiz, and of course, it was good for them. Okay, and then assess knowledge. As the goal that was expected from the implementation of this quiz, students also felt that with this quiz, they became aware of the extent of which they had mastered the knowledge of the material given, so they know which part to focus on to learn again. Next, by doing the quiz, they can immediately also see the score they got. Maybe this is a bit different with previous during tasks. Sorry, with the previous task during classroom learning. Maybe the lecturer didn't return the student task result. And then next, easy to understand. Several students answered that with the quiz, they were easier to understand the extent of the material presented. Okay, and then the last one is fun. Some of the students said that the quiz was a fun task. This can be due to the burden seeing the task given so far in the form of paper. This time, they did the task using the gadget, which gadget is related to something fun. Okay, and then about the obstacle. So the only obstacle faced by the student in doing the quiz is the internet connection. And this is indeed a fundamental problem in online learning. Wow, and then the conclusion. So quiz has a positive impact on students even though they are in online learning situation. Quiz as an assessment tool does not only affect the learning process but also has a positive impact on the student themselves. And later, the implementation of this quiz can be modified and adapted to the needs and objectives of the learning itself. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Komandrisna Dewi, for your clear and insightful presentation. And it seems to me that the rest of the presenters hasn't joined the breakout room. So it's better for us to watch the video they sent to us. So the first video will be the one who recorded by Miss Hasnani Helmi, and her presentation is about the effectiveness of e-learning through WhatsApp on teaching and learning activities of Universitas Megareski students. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's enjoy the video. And during watching the video, if you have some questions and respond to Ms. Komantisna Dewi presentation, please directly type it in the chat box and please mention your name, your affiliation, and to whom your questions is addressed to. Thank you. Suara song.
Sorry, I can't hear her voice.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My
Thank
name
you.
is Hasnani. I'm from Mega Rescue University in Makassar. Today I'm going to join in the 8th International Conference on English Language and Teaching. By the theme, English Language Teaching and Research in Digital Era, Challenges and Possibilities. My title is The Effectiveness of E-Learning Through WhatsApp on Teaching and E-Learning Activities of Universitas Megarescue Students by Hasnani and Samsuni Karsel. The purpose of this research to describe the effectiveness of using e-learning models of activities and learning outcomes to encourage research in students. And then the second aim, to know the description of students' response in using WhatsApp in learning activities. The method of this research use experimental method with a pre-test and post-test group design with a sampling system using 50 students as a random sampling. The instrument used a task instrument for description, questions, and non-test in the form of a student's questionnaire. And then the result of this research show that the t-test of learning outcomes obtained by t-count 4.7 greater than 1.7 supported by the end-gain value of the experimental class of 0.72 compared to the control class of 0.54. The average value of the control class of 0.54 and then the innovative types of is better than control class. The learning media based on WhatsApp application have a proportion of 60.19% on learning outcomes. The learning activity through WhatsApp has a positive response for students with a questionnaire result of 83.5%. And then talking about the conclusion in this research, the e-learning through WhatsApp has a positive response on teaching and learning activities of Universitas Megariski students. Thank you very much. And then enjoy your day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Hasnani Helmi, for your presentation video. And actually, there is a question from Mr. Risang Baskara. Okay, again, it's so nice to have you here. So this question is addressed to Ibu Komang Trisna Dewi, and also for the rest of us. So Miss Komang Trisna Dewi, can you hear me? Ms. Komang Trisna Dewi, can you hear me? There's a question addressed to you.
Yes.
Okay, so I will read
Yes.
the question. What are the learning assessment challenges and priorities in the current context of COVID-19 pandemic, besides the technical and technological issues? And how can formative assessment support learning in the context of school closures? And how can we adapt the integrated TEA or technology enhanced assessment into our classroom practices, especially for our students in the remote area? What to expect and what to prepare? So Ms. Komang, do you want to answer this question right now?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay, the floor is yours.
Yes. Okay, so the first one is about the challenges. Based on my research, the challenge is about the technology. But if you ask me about another or other challenges, maybe it's about the understanding of the student itself. So we are not sure that whether they do by they do by themselves, or they just copy the answer and then paste to our task. We don't know about that. Okay, that's about the first one. And then the second one is how can formative assessment support learning in the context of school? So assessment, of course, support the learning because by assessment, we can assess about the student understanding and the achievement of the student itself. And then if you ask me about the next one is about integrate and adapt technology assessment, especially for remote area. So the things that we need is of course the technology itself. If there is no technology, we can adapt that. So the first thing maybe we can give course about technology, like short course about how to do this application or this platform to implement assessment based on the technology. Yes, maybe that's from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Komang Trisna Dewi. So, Mr. Risang Baskara, do you have any feedback or response to her answer?
No, actually, thank you very much for the answers, Bu Komang. My point is that the formative assessment is really critical, especially during the pandemic, because I believe that learning needs to take place outside of the physical classroom, and teachers and parents turned teachers need to understand whether the students are absorbing the content or not. So in that context, formative assessment is really needed, especially in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. I guess that's my addition, Punora. Thank you very much, Komang, for the great presentation.
Okay, also thank you, Mr. Risang Baskara. And also, Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Risang and
Yes,
Miss
Bu.
Komang. Okay, we are so happy to have you here, Mr. Risang. So, and it seems to me that Mr. Hirval also, cannot join this breakout room because there are some technical issues. So we'll just directly play the video presented by him, and he will deliver a presentation entitled "An Analysis of the Usability of a Learning Management System" or LMS of SMKN2 Padang in teaching and learning English using questionnaire and students' perception in learning language. So please enjoy the video.
Presentation of my research. The title is Analysis of in teaching and learning English using youth. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the presentation of my research. The title is Analysis of the Usability of Learning Management System or LMS of SMKN2 Padang in teaching and learning English using use questionnaire and student perception on language learning. Background and purpose. Background of the research. First, because of Industrial Revolution 4.0, closure of school due to COVID-19, it made so the school have to construct LMS to as the alternative way in teaching and learning at SMKN2 Padang, because the government do not allow the school to apply face-to-face teaching and learning. Purpose of the purpose of the research are first to find out the percentage of the usability of the LMS. The second one, to find out the student perception in learning language. And the third one, to find out significance of different rate of the usability of LMS from student and teacher. Method that used in this research. The research is a kind of descriptive research. Times and place is SMKN was SMKN Padang in November 2020. Example is 11 class of accounting student and English teacher of at SMKN 2 Padang. In gathering primary data, the researchers was use questionnaire, which is consists of 30 statements, and the secondary data will be collected by using interview to some students. Next, finding of the research from the primary data that was find by using use questionnaire. The researchers found that from the first aspect of the in the use questionnaire, such as usefulness, easy of use, easy of learning, and satisfaction, both student and teacher feel satisfied. On the other hand, from the secondary data, which focus on the student perception, how LMS can develop their for skill of language. It was found that reading skill, writing skill, and listening were developed, but speaking skill was undeveloped well by using the LMS. And the last one, conclusion. From the research, it can be concluded that first, LMS SMKN2 Padang is a good alternative tool in teaching and learning, especially in closure of school due to pandemic of COVID-19. LMS of SMKN2 Padang has high percentage of usability rate. The third one, LMS of SMKN2 Padang still cannot accommodate the development of the four language skill, especially in balance. And the last one, LMS of SMKN2 Padang need to be improved to accommodate the development of speaking skill. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Hirfal, for your presentation video. And actually, we have one question here from Mr. Antonio Suratno, addressed to Ms. Hasnani, although she's not here, but we try our best to accommodate this question. So this question will be answered by Ms. Hasnani, perhaps by direct message. And actually, we still have one presenters, but unfortunately, these presenters also cannot join this breakout room. So we will directly show you the presentation video. The presenter is Mr. Habib Muafi, and he will deliver a presentation entitled Innovation and Method which used in teaching and learning process in English subject during the pandemic era. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Habib Muafi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to ICOELT 2020, the IC International Conference on English Language and Teaching. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Habib Muafi. I'm from UNP, Universitas Negeri Padang. Here, I will explain about my result, which title Innovation which used in the teaching and learning process in English subject during the pandemic era. Since the COVID-19, which occurred in the last few months, many sectors have had to change their system or method of operational implementation, including the education system. The previous learning process that runs normally in the classroom now must be changed in order to protect the safety of teacher and student. In the situation like this, the teaching and learning process become obstructive. As a result, the teacher and student cannot meet face to face directly. Now, the learning process is carried out remotely. Long distance learning is the process where student and teacher cannot meet face to face directly. This learning process can be done online. During online learning, long distance communication cannot be separated from the use of cell phone, tablet, cell phone, or laptop that are connected via the internet. When offline, students can only use book or learning material that have been downloaded from internet. For we as teachers need to innovate in the learning process. Learning innovation is considered critical to achieve learning goals by using active, effective, and efficient methods. The purpose of this result is to find out what innovation the teachers use in the learning process, especially for English subject. The type of result used in this study is a qualitative descriptive method. The results of qualitative research in the field of education are descriptive. The purpose of qualitative research is to understand individual views, seek findings, and explain process and dig into in-depth information about subject or limited research setting. The research subject used in this study were teachers and students of ICBS. In selecting the study subject, the researchers used purposive sampling technique. Purposive sampling is a sample determination technique with certain consideration. In this discussion, the researchers use interview to get the information. The first question: how is the learning process and implementation during the pandemic? The result: the learning process is currently done online because government policy prohibits face-to-face. The next question: what application do teachers use to carry out online learning activities? At the beginning of learning, the teacher used the WhatsApp application to teach in the classroom. Then, the teacher had to that use another application to maximize learning such as Zoom meeting, PowerPoint, video, Google Classroom, quizzes, and Google Form as evaluation application. The next question: how is online learning implemented using the application? The implementation of the pursuit so far has been normal. After working for some time, students feel saturated and do not focus on learning English. The last question: how does online learning work? The results have not shown the maximum result because the learning process is carried out online and the meeting are reduced. The conclusion of this result: online learning is very effective the result of learning and implementation. Although the teacher has renovated in the learning process, many students still complain. The problem of internet access is difficult to get in the corner. When using the Zoom meeting application requires strong internet access and great quota. The teacher has tried to have meeting in the first place, which is 2 weeks of meeting or in 1 month only 2 meeting. In the future, it is expected that the government can condition this problem and learning can be started face-to-face offline. So that student can interact directly with teacher and other student. And then the learning process will be more comfortable and enjoyable with the term and conditions that have been given by the government. The government is urging people in public place to follow the protocol COVID-19 that has been disseminated. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Habib Muafi, for your presentation video. And actually, we have two questions here from Mr. Risang and also Miss Dini Octaviani. And this question can be discussed by us together in this room. So for all presenters and also participants, you may share your idea and opinion. The first one is about MIMS or mobile instant messaging services, which has a great potential on bridging the digital divide among students during the pandemic.
It's not a
However,
question, Bundra. Sorry to interrupt. It's an idea.
yeah, it's an idea.
Because Pak Anton mentioned the question before. It's not a question. It's a response to Pak Anton's question, more or less, because nobody is answering the question. Pak Anton, here my idea.
Okay, so it's Mr. Risang Baskara idea. Okay, so but there is a issue when we want to use WhatsApp that it's not a virtual learning environment actually because it's only to share and exchange information among students during the class activities. Okay, I see. So it just respond to Mr. Anton. And we have one question. This is a question actually for Mr. Habib Muafi, but we can discuss it together. The question is, how can we innovate the method in teaching English subject during this pandemic era if the signal or internet in our country doesn't support to do the e-learning? So the question is about the internet connection when we have to do or we have to use LMS, learning management system, but the internet doesn't support. So anybody, do you have any ideas or opinions how to make such a innovation in learning in our current situation? So every presenters and also participants may have opportunities to share ideas and also opinions. We have Miss Komang here, Mr. Anton, Miss Memrat Malida, Miss Ismi Solihatun, Miss Nada Risnina, and also Mr. Rodi, Mr. Rodi Hartono, also Miss Marlia Handayani. So anybody can share opinion and also ideas how to solve this problem. Hello, anybody? Or perhaps Miss Komandrisna Dewi, do you have any comments about this question?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I just want to make sure here. So the case here is there's a signal but unstable. Yeah. Or there is no internet connection. Maybe I think there's an internet connection, but the connection is unstable. So my suggestion is based on my experience. So we can make a video of the learning process, and then after that we can upload to maybe Google Classroom or another platform, and then ask the students to download when they have a good signal or a good internet connection like that. So we can make a video or maybe like PDF file, and then we can upload to Google Classroom or another platform, and then ask them to download when the internet connection is stable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Komang. Maybe asynchronous learning will be helpful for this situation. And also, Mr. Risam Baskara gives some ideas about the things to consider for the low-tech remote teaching. Maybe Ms. Dini Octaviani may also read in the chat box. He said that the first things to consider is delivering course content. So actually we have to deliver the course content at first to the students and then communicating with the students, managing assessment, and then there are some tips, be flexible and allow for any reasonable students' request based on their individual situation. So we have to be adaptable and also consider our students' situation. Be prepared to accept out the ordinary submission methods and extend deadline. Okay, maybe this is also one of consideration. Also, we have met deadlines, but some students, because of the because they live in the remote area and also because of the restriction of internet, so we may expand the deadlines. They may need to write the paper by hand, take a picture of it, and email to you. Oh, I also done it. And consider your learning objective when re-evaluating your assessment. And what do you want students to get out of the class? Start from your objective rather than trying to mold existing assessment to fit this new normal. And at last, which is also the most critical issue, to avoid cognitive overload and techno stress, generally limit the number of tools you are using and try to use mostly familiar tools with a low learning curve, and hope it helps. Okay, thank you, Mr. Risang Baskara, for your ideas. It is very insightful. So we also have several participants here. Do you have any ideas? And also, if you want to share your ideas or opinion related to this concern about the restriction of the internet in a remote area. We also have Mr. Anton here. We still have time, about 20 minutes. Or Miss Ismi Solihatun, Mr. Rodi. Yeah, you may share your opinion. Also, Miss Anesia Putri, are you here? You may share your idea how to do some innovation related to this pandemic era, especially related to our English learning. Okay, do you have any insight, ideas. Okay. Is there any perhaps questions or response? Okay, I think it's not. So we still have 20 minutes. Okay, we still have 20 minutes left actually for this parallel session. So before I end this parallel session, actually you may join another breakout room because purposely another breakout room still have presentation session or question and answer session. So I would like to tell you that the second plenary session will be begin at 2:30, and once the third parallel session is ended, you may go back to the main room. So since it is the end of our third parallel session, it is honor for us to have you here. Thank you for your attention, and also we are sorry for such inconvenience. You may stay here before going back to the plenary session, or you may go join another breakout room. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.